Hi everyone, and welcome to Module 4 on reporting news stories. This week, we will learn how to put a complete news story together. We'll also review example news stories and complete our news writing assignment on the topic or event you proposed last week. Check back midweek for the return of your news participation activity for my feedback on your topic. Well, there are many career opportunities in news media. Your job for our class this week will focus on the job of a reporter. A reporter is someone who gathers information on a specific issue or topic and puts together a story for the media. It could be a story for radio, television, print, the web, social media, or potentially all of the above. Reporters get their information in a variety of ways. Definitely through direct observation, but also through interviewing people who are involved or organizers of the event, or people who just have an opinion about it. Reporters also attend news conferences to get information. This slide details 3 ways reporters gather information for their stories. The most obvious way is through direct observation, where a reporter pays specific attention to a topic or attends an event, and they document everything that they see, hear, smell, taste, and feel. In addition to this first-hand observation, they also research what other journalists observed and included in their stories on the subject, because it's always good for reporters to have some background information and knowledge. In addition to direct observation, reporters attend news conferences. News conferences or press conferences are events that are held by newsmakers when they have information that they want to reach the public. The White House holds news conferences. The mayor's office does as well. Professional sports teams like the Bills and the Sabres hold news conferences after games. And here we see coaches and key players answering questions from reporters and describing their take on the game. Now, one of the biggest reasons why reporters attend news conferences and talk to people is because they want to get a quote for their story. Interviews allow reporters to obtain other people's perspectives and opinions, which again are essential in covering news stories. Reporters interview all types of people, from high-ranking government officials and celebrities to what's called the man on the street, who is just kind of a random person with an opinion or an observation on the topic. But again, the whole point of the interview or that controlled conversation is to elicit specific information which can provide a quote for a news story, because these direct quotes or sound bites liven and add credibility to the news story. Now, when you are interviewing or talking to someone, the 5 W's should guide your interviews. Think about what your audience would want to know about this event or issue or topic or person. When you're asking interview questions, you get better answers if you avoid asking yes or no questions. Instead of asking, do you like such and such, where someone could just respond with yes or no, rephrase your question to be something like, what do you most like or dislike about such and such? That will give you a better, more specific response that you can use for a quote or a soundbite. Let's look at some tips for choosing a quote or soundbite. A quote or soundbite should add drama, color, and immediacy to your story. Choose something that doesn't include simple objective statements that the anchor can read. Choose something that's going to bring some perspective to your story. For example, if you were doing a story about the Buffalo Bills, a quote or soundbite from a fan that says, Buffalo won the game 38-35, isn't really a great soundbite. But a soundbite from a fan that says, "I love this team. I've been coming here to every home game for 20 years." A statement like that livens up the story because it communicates their passion and their excitement for the team. Soundbite attribution is also important. Attribution means tell the audience who they're hearing from. Now, famous people that we all know don't really need attribution. Somebody like Beyonce or Donald Trump, we all know who that is. But when you're talking about regular people, identify them so the audience knows who you are quoting and what their relevance is to the story. For example, SUNY Erie professor Amber Reinhardt commented on the college's enrollment. Here, we are attributing Amber Reinhardt as a college professor. Or Buffalo Bills fan Mike Smith expressed his love for the team. Here we're telling the audience who that person is. Your quotes in your story should have attribution. It's likely that none of you are interviewing famous people. If you're doing a story about the Buffalo Bills, I shouldn't read quotes from Josh Allen because it's unlikely that you actually talked to him. You would be more likely to be interviewing Bills fans or spectators who are probably regular people who will need some attribution. The other part of this is determining credibility and fact checking. Real journalists must always evaluate their source. You always want to go with people who have first-hand information as opposed to second-hand, or quote people that saw it themselves or experienced it themselves instead of hearing about it from someone else. If you have doubts about accuracy, always check your facts with another source of information. This can be documents or even another person. Even something as simple as a phone number. If you get a phone number and it's supposed to give people certain information, call that number yourself and make sure that it actually does. That's something that a real reporter should do. Reporters do have skeptical attitudes. They don't believe something just because somebody told them. They always want to cross-reference and verify. Let's put everything together now. Let's say you've attended your event. You've documented everything you've seen, heard, felt, etc. You have your facts, your quotes, your pictures. Everything has been gathered. It's time to write your lead sentence. If it's a hard news lead, get to the bottom line and include what's most important, urgent, or newest. If it's a soft news lead, find a way to dramatically engage the audience's attention in the story. Once your lead has been written, organize the story in descending order of importance. Follow the inverted pyramid. Let's look at the different layers in a web story. Web stories begin with a headline or a title, followed by the author's name, which in the case of our news assignment will be your name. After our headline and title and author's name, there is a lead sentence. Following the lead sentence, there is a short, usually one paragraph summary of what happened. This is where we get all the important details in that we couldn't fit in the lead sentence. This first paragraph summary is important because following this, most of your audience might not continue. Some will only read to this point. Once we get past that first paragraph summary, this is where we add in any accompanying visuals like pictures or graphics or audio video clips, and we try to tell the story both verbally and visually. It's important to write to visuals whenever you can. After that, we get into our depth report. This is where we get into the more specific details and descriptions. We have more quotes and sound bites, additional links. We filter this order or this information in descending order of importance, and the oldest or the least important information comes at the very end. Finally, most online stories close with comments. There's some method for readers to talk back. If there are not comments on the story, usually the author will provide an email address or some other means of contact information so the audience is able to contribute. Look for each of these the next time you read a news story that's online. I'd like everyone to review the example news story I've linked in this week's module. Several years ago, a tornado swept through parts of the United States, killing 30 people. You'll see two versions of this story that were reported immediately after the event: a TV news story by CBS News and an online news story by the Associated Press. With this story, people died and were injured. They lost their homes, their businesses, everything that they've worked for. First, with the TV news story, pay attention to the video clips that display the damage caused by the tornado, that coordinate with the reporter's voiceover. We hear emotional and heartbreaking sound bites from people who've lost everything. This story should really tug on your heartstrings a little and make you feel bad for the victims. This emotional connection is the reporter's attempt to make the story memorable. The reporter's voiceover is objective, but the sound bites really add the drama and the emotion to the story. The second example is the written online news story from the Associated Press. You'll see that this is slightly different from the TV news story for a few reasons. There's bigger words and longer sentences because the story is written for those that are reading with their eyes rather than listening with their ears. Pictures are placed throughout in places that match the written description. Underlying text in the story is linked to relevant places and things. You can click on them to get more information. Readers can also comment at the end and share their own opinion. This online news story should serve as a model for your news writing assignment. If you look at the document, it begins with a title followed by the author's name. There's a hard news lead, and the story follows the inverted pyramid. There are accompanying photos and quotes with attribution, and facts are reported in descending order of importance. And the story closes with an opportunity for comments. This week, everyone should complete the news writing assignment. Begin by reviewing the assignment instructions in Brightspace with all of the details. Once you have familiarized yourself with the assignment requirements, actually cover the event or topic you proposed last week if you have not already. Gather all of your facts, your quotes, your pictures, everything you need, and write your story. Again, check to make sure it includes all the required components from the assignment instructions. This is due by the end of the week, Sunday at midnight. And as I've noted, prior to writing your story, make sure you've checked my comments from your participation activity from last week. Any questions? Let me know. Thanks.